Are you Scott?
Hi, how are you?
My Uber driver?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, this is going to cost you a lot of money.
Oh, man. Okay.
I am not cheap.
Been saving my pretty pennies for this.
Very expensive. Hi, Rachel, how are
Hi,
you?
I'm doing great.
That's great.
How are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic.
Yeah? You ready to drive around the town?
Oh, yeah, I'm just going to drive around aimlessly. It's fine.
Cool.
Gas is cheap right now, actually, so
That's actually accurate.
doesn't bother me in the least right now. It's like
we got all kinds of time.
usually gas is cheap as a joke, but no, it's actually cheap right now. It's great.
Actually cheap.
All right, so we've been doing this series called Uber Driver,
Okay.
where I kind of drive some people around, and I just want to hear a little bit of their story. But instead of you telling me your whole life story,
Okay.
I want to hear 2 defining moments of your life.
Okay.
Why they defined you. What was it about that moment? Did you know it was a defining moment at that when it happened, or
Okay.
kind of later in life? So, what is your first defining moment in your life?
Yeah. So, I think the first defining moment, and I didn't know it was a defining moment at the time,
Okay.
but was going to camp for the first time in junior high. I grew up in a Christian home, so church was always part of the thing. Sundays was always going, served with my parents, but I never wanted to go to camp because I never wanted to leave home.
Okay.
And so my parents convinced me to go.
Convinced or forced?
To me, it was convincing. To them, it was like, hey, we want you out of the house for a week.
Okay.
So
all right.
understand.
So a little different. Yeah.
A little bit of both.
Okay.
But I was in 7th grade, and I went to camp, and that was when I really took my relationship with Jesus seriously. So I knew who Jesus was, I knew what he meant to me, but I think that's when my faith really shifted from being, what my parents' faith was and what I grew up into, to being something that I was searching for and following after. And that really marked the rest of my life going forward. As I continued through youth group, continued to serve and pursue Jesus. But that point also led me later on in college. I actually went back to work at that camp as a counselor.
That's awesome.
It was really cool because, you guys don't know me super well yet,
Nope.
and I'm sure you will at
I'm
some
learning
point.
all this information as well. Yep.
But I think one thing you can tell is that I'm pretty introverted, pretty quiet. Being a camp counselor is probably not...
Puts you out of your comfort zone. Yep.
It's probably not the one thing you think I would do.
Yeah.
But I just remember the Lord putting it on my heart actually at the next year's camp that I went to, that I was going to work there one day, and I was like, well, that'd be cool. Camp is sweet, but and then fast forwarding when I was in college and he was putting on my heart to be a counselor, I was like, ha, that's funny. I'm not extroverted, and that's going to take a lot. But ended up doing that for a few seasons, and God really used that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, to help lead other students to know Jesus and just kind of give back to those kids. So. And
I'm sure you saw other students have that same moment that you had so many years ago.
Yes, and it's really cool because camp is such it's a faith journey experience really in a week.
Yeah.
You get to see some kids who are like, I do not want to go to camp. I want nothing to do with Jesus.
Please get me out of here.
Yeah, I hate every second of this, to surrendering their life to Jesus a couple days later. So just week after week after week, seeing kids meet the Lord sometimes for the first time or rededicating, was a really rewarding job, though, not getting paid very much
long hours, low pay.
Yeah.
Yep. I worked at a camp at one point in my life as well, so I know. I get it.
That's, neither here nor there at that point. But the experience was phenomenal.
That's
just
awesome.
Getting to be a kid in that moment and then see it later on.
Okay, let's rewind a little bit. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Totally fine.
What about that camp? Was it a night? What was it about that moment that something finally clicked for you? Because it sounded like there was some sort of transition between your faith, what it was, and what it then became.
Yeah.
Was it a sermon? Was it a conversation?
Yeah.
What do you remember about that night, and what actually kind of clicked with everything?
Yeah, I remember that we were going through a series about, and I think this is like probably typical camp, like from when I was in you know, middle school and high school, but when they like talked about like the stars and like how big like different planets are, and then they take you outside and you go look at the stars, and it's the whole thing, which is great. But I remember just like hearing about those and hearing about how like, you know, big this universe is and how big even God is at that point too, to create that, but yet he was so close, and though we're so small, like he came near. And you know, obviously we're in this like Easter season, talking about how Jesus came and he died, and so just learning about how big he is, but yet he came down and was so small and so close. And even getting to see, so that was like one part, but the other side was just during worship too, like seeing some of my friends like begin to surrender their life to Jesus, and like me kind of processing like, okay, this is something that I've been doing for a while, and like I've been following Jesus for the majority of my life, but what would it actually mean for me to do that, for me to choose it, and for my decisions and choices to reflect that. And so it was kind of like there was a few different factors into why
wasn't
that,
one thing.
But I remember really it just like clicking at that point, and really cool to be among my friends and my church family, and just getting to experience that together, and then go back and be, you know, a youth group and a family, and continue to do life together. So
it was a continuation of everything. But
absolutely.
I've noticed that a lot, where when you see your friends, when you see your peers, when you see people around your same age begin to take those steps in their faith, big steps, you know, trusting in Jesus, like it almost challenges you to evaluate your own, of like, okay, you know, if I'm a 16-year-old, I'm seeing this other 16-year-old take those steps. What am I doing? You know what I mean? In the same way, I see, you know, you saw other 7th graders being like, oh man, they're doing that. Like, it almost it causes you to step up a little bit, you know, and that it's so big on being in community and being able to challenge yourself, seeing everyone else, because if you just stay in your own world, it can be a little different.
Absolutely. No, you're hitting it right on the head, for sure.
That's awesome. Okay, so that that kind of defining moment not only, you know, kind of propelled your faith, but it also kind of changed your life in the sense of like where you work, what you do for a summer, you know what I mean? Like, it's one thing, it's like, oh yeah, my faith in Jesus was stronger, but like this actively caused me to move for a summer and to live at a camp for a summer. And, you know, it's just kind of crazy how all those steps will, you know, kind of take place. You know, something that happened when you were junior higher is now affecting you when you were in college. You know what I mean? Affecting how your life is lived and all that type of stuff. And
absolutely.
Led it to where you are, getting that kind of first taste in ministry. Okay, so that was your first defining moment. Happened in junior high, 7th grade, correct?
7th grade.
Okay, did your second defining moment happen before that, after that? When did
Much later.
Much later. Okay, so like 8th grade?
No. Even
2 weeks later.
It was actually 9th grade.
Okay.
No, so my second defining moment was actually stepping into my first full-time ministry role.
Those are always fun.
Super fun. So I remember, so I went to school, I went to college, I went to a state school, and that wasn't originally part of the plan. I wanted to go to a Christian university and, you know, get a biblical studies degree or Christian ministry degree. And what was the, I mean, not to cut you off too much on the story, what was the plan? What was, I'm going to go to college, and after college I'm going to do this. What was that plan? The original plan was I wanted to be actually a counselor, so a marriage and family counselor. With the dream, it wasn't like I didn't think this would actually happen, but what I wanted to do was I wanted to work in full-time ministry. I didn't want to be like the pastor that was preaching every week or, you know, leading the youth group. I wanted to be like the number 2, like the person that helped and, you know, was
behind the scenes.
Still being pastoral, still like helping leaders, and small groups and all that stuff win, but not being the face.
Yeah,
I
no
didn't wanna be the
spotlight.
face.
Yeah, no, I don't want my face on video or on
Yeah.
stage, anything like that.
Nothing like
okay,
that. No.
Okay.
So, though I wasn't able to go to a Christian school, I'd gotten in and all that stuff, but financially it fell through, and it was only in hindsight that I knew why that ended up happening.
Right.
But ended up going to state school, and doing counseling was kind of like, that was the plan. That was like, okay, I don't think full-time ministry is probably going to be an actual goal, only because the church that I was in at the time was smaller. There wasn't going to be like
not an opportunity for it.
Yeah, the people who were there were solid. They were wanting to be there for the long haul and that whole thing. And so my view at that point was much smaller of what would be possible. And so going to school to be a counselor, and then I was finishing up, I was actually in my senior year of college, and a friend of mine who I'd worked with at the church that I was at currently had gotten hired at a church in Orange County.
Okay.
And that was a huge bummer because, we were good friends, but I was excited for him. He was going to be doing high school ministry. And a few months later, actually, he ended up calling me, and he was like, hey, would you ever consider moving to Orange County for a job? And I was like,
dropping very subtle hints.
Yeah. I was like, no.
Nope, not interested.
No, not interested. I'm pretty content where I'm at. I was serving at the time. I actually was doing a part-time role too at the church that I was at, just doing communications stuff. And as I was responding to him, I distinctly remember feeling the Lord say, you didn't even ask me. And I was like,
that's nice and convicting.
No. Talking about conviction, I was like, cool, okay. So I deleted the text that I was beginning to type. I kid you not, this is a true story. And I texted back. I was like, I want to say no, but if that were to happen, God would have to essentially part the Red Sea to make that very clear. I'm not willing to.
Yeah, it's a no, but there's a lot of things that need to happen.
Exactly. And he's like, okay, I understand. He's like, just think about it, pray about it, let me know. I was like, cool. That's the typical Christian answer. Sure, I'll pray about it. Okay, I'm not actually going to pray about it. But I did. I was like, you know what? That felt kind of weird. That I felt pretty distinctly that I'd heard from the Lord, and so prayed about it, and then he reached back out again about a week later, and he's like, hey, let me just send you the job description.
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, okay, fine. And when he sent it to me, it was literally, I remember having a conversation with my mom right before that had happened, and telling her, if I were to go into ministry, these are the things that I would want to do. And it was kind of specific. I was just like,
make a long list, and if you can't meet every single one of them, I'm out.
And it wasn't even necessarily about the role that I was potentially being asked about. It was just in general. Because she's like, hey, college is finishing up, what are you gonna do, type of thing. Like, okay, Mom, I get it. Anyway, so when the job description came back, it literally filled every single one of those things. I was like, okay, I really don't want to do this.
You were upset reading it because it was,
I was like, this is impossible. It's not going to happen. Yeah. And so I texted him back, and I was like, okay, I'll move slowly through the process. I'm not saying yes to anything. I'm not saying no, but I just want you to know the chances are slim. For me to actually move and do this. And so ended up just kind of moving forward a little bit and doing the process, doing the interview, and then some other things needed to fall into place. For example, I was doing my last semester of college. I need to graduate.
Yeah, that's kind of
that's important. Just minor. I was actually living at home and commuting to a school in San Diego, which was about an hour away. And I was going to need to get all of my classes. I'd already registered for everything on campus last semester. I was going to need to drop all my classes, which is a big no-no.
Yeah, that's not something you should be doing your last semester.
Drop all my classes and try to get them all online.
Wow.
And
so that was a huge mountain to kind of
It was at the time, because it felt like I was doing the opposite really of like what you should do. Like it was safe. I had my classes.
Yep.
I was,
I'll just
going
finish
to be
school
fine.
and we'll figure it out. Yeah.
But I'd really kind of seen God break down walls for that role, and so I was like, okay, like this is the last test, God. Like if you really want me to take this role, like I'm gonna put myself out there and drop all these classes and try to get other ones. And slowly but surely ended up getting enrolled in all these. I was like waitlisted, like impossibly that I should even receive those classes, but I ended up getting into it. And I remember actually when I was up at camp when I was working, it was one of our last weekends of camp, and I had one more class that I needed to get into. It was like the one I needed to graduate, and I was still waitlisted, and I was telling my mom, like, I don't know what I'm going to do because I can't graduate. At this rate, I will not graduate.
Yep.
And she called me once I got up to camp, and she was like borderline tears, and she's like, I don't know what happened, but they like opened up a brand new class and you got automatically enrolled and you have all your classes.
Of course.
And I was like, okay.
Just the way it works.
Like, okay, this is very clear that God has asked me to do this.
Yeah.
So I ended up, they offered me the position, I ended up accepting it, and God did so much in and through me in that time. I was there for 5 years, and just, again, ministry was never something that I thought that I would get to do. It was kind of this dream thing. It'd be awesome to get to do this, but I just didn't think that was really, in the cards for me. And so even the process of getting there, seeing how much God moved and made that possible, and then getting to experience it, like getting to actually do
that's
that.
what's funny. Like, as you told that story, I was expecting you to talk about, okay, I got this job, and then all this stuff happened.
Yeah.
But really, your defining moment sounds like it wasn't the job, it was everything leading up to you
really
starting
was.
the job. Like, it almost, not to say the job wasn't important,
Of course,
but it almost had nothing to do with the actual position that you
Yeah.
accepted. It was you kind of seeing God orchestrate all this stuff of, I'm going to move this, you're going to get this online class, I'm going to make this happen for you, I'm going to make the job description exactly what you need. The job was just kind of like, oh yeah, you're also going to get a job. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
It was everything leading up to the job, and it seemed like that defining moment was more about like, oh, God did this, and like, that was incredible for me. It's like, oh yeah, and I happened to just get a job that I loved out of it.
Totally.
Yeah, whatever, it's fine,
Yeah, it was crazy because I feel like growing up, especially in the church, I had done a lot of the right things. Like, I did all the things, went to youth group, served, like, was faithful in following Jesus. But there were never a whole lot of times that I felt like God had like done something huge, And so it
guided your path.
Truly, And so it was a really cool experience to be like, I was going to say no to that. I didn't want to do that.
I actually was trying to say no to that.
I was trying to say no. And it felt like God literally detoured my path to be like, no, this is actually what I have for you, and I'm going to make this happen. Which, again, ended up being a huge blessing and has now guided me here. It guided me to meeting and marrying my now husband, who you all will meet at some point, and so many other things, moving out for the first time, meeting a bunch of friends, and then so many other ministry opportunities too, going to camps and seeing, kids meet Jesus for the first time, and helping leaders and coaches and mentor, and just the list goes on and on. So it's like, yes, that defining moment really was leading up to it, and then it caused so many other dominoes to fall of things that I got to see.
And it was all like, I mean, not to get too crazy, it was all because of one basically moment of a conviction. When you could have sent one text message, but you sent the other text message. Like, you could have shut it down right there. You could have been like, no, I'm not interested. And who knows how that guy would have reacted. He might like, okay, cool. I'm never going to ask her again. She's not interested, blah, blah, blah. And then like all those things, like a simple, a sentence that you type out somewhat innocently at the time, literally set the course for the rest of your life.
Totally, And it's funny because that guy, I ended up working for him. He was my friend, and then ended up becoming my boss. And he had told me that he wasn't even going to ask me. Like, he was like, I would want, like, his wife, they were having a conversation together, and he was saying, you know, I really want someone like Rachel to be in this position, but I don't think she'll
Not
do
Rachel,
it.
but someone like Rachel.
He was so convinced that I wouldn't do it, which is funny.
Right,
His
right.
friends, or we're friends, like he knows me. But his wife was the one that was like, well, don't say no for her.
Yeah.
Like, you should ask
Yeah.
her. So
You know someone who's like Rachel? Rachel.
why don't you just
yeah.
ask the person,
yeah.
you know?
Who you really want.
Yeah. So it's just, there's so many different ways that God orchestrated that moment. And so that definitely was a defining moment because it truthfully impacted everything of my life moving forward.
For sure.
You know, what I did with a job and who I married and, you know, where I'm living now and, you know, all those things too.
But
So,
yeah, and then kind of going back to the beginning, like
Yeah.
that second defining moment was only a defining moment because of what happened at camp. Because if you
Exactly,
hadn't
yeah.
put your faith in Christ at that moment,
Yep.
that job opportunity would have never come.
Yeah.
That, you know, that
Yeah.
dream of full-time ministry would have never even happened. You know,
Totally.
it started so long. You know, one defining moment led to the next defining moment, and how that kind of orchestrated essentially your entire life.
Yeah.
You know, that
Yeah.
you will feel the effects for, you know, 40, 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
You know, kind of the rest of your life.
Exactly. Yeah. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really cool just hearing like a small kind of snapshot of your story and those kind of defining moments. And I am doing everything I can to not get in a major car wreck right now.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's
That'd
all
be
I'm
a
trying to
horrible
do.
Uber drive. You know? This is not what I
It's fine.
expected for an Uber drive.
It's fine.
but-
We've successfully navigated, you know, 2 of these. I haven't gotten in an accident yet,
Cool.
so
We're almost
it was
there.
great hearing your story and
Thanks.
hearing kind of more about you and hearing how God has been so good to you, but
Mm-hmm.
also how you have responded to Him orchestrating so much, because He can orchestrate stuff, but we can still say no
For sure.
to all those things. So
Yeah.
it was really, really cool kind of hearing your story and all that. So
Awesome.
thank you.
Thanks.
Yep.